Welcome to Imperfect Genius, the podcast that helps Black women thrive by providing technical advice on effectively navigating the business development journey and offers advice to all women on building successful careers in the tech industry. I'm your host, Rachel Foster, a tech professional, educator, and entrepreneur. With me today is a friend and former colleague, Leon Adato. Leon is joining us from Cleveland, Ohio. He is a father of four, grandfather of four, and a husband to one very, very patient woman. His corporate professional background includes training, systems management, network engineering, monitoring and observability, and much more. Leon was also, full disclosure, my onboarding buddy in my former corporate gig when I moved over from customer training to developer relations. Welcome, Leon.
Thank you so much. That was uncannily accurate. And my wife will be so happy to hear that. She's being called out, but that was a good one. I am really flattered also that you have me on this podcast. We've obviously been talking about this for a long time, and to finally be able to be part of it as it's, on its way up is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, it probably wouldn't exist if not for your help when you gave me the step-by-step, here's what you need to do to start a podcast. And I talked to other people and I did my own research, but honestly, if I didn't have that recipe, I probably would have given up long ago. Like, this is too much work. When is it ever going to be ready to be published? So thank you for that. Right. So it probably wouldn't even exist without you. So thank you.
Aw, thank you.
So today, I want to talk about, so here's what happened. You're listed on the Imperfect Genius website as a blog contributor because we talked about you contributing to the blog. And when I was doing your bio, which I stole from your, I think it's your Me Out There section of adatosystems.com on your website. And when I was pulling the bio and I looked at your list of your eBooks and I was like, holy crap. I was like,
this guy won't shut up. What is wrong with him?
I was like, the term prolific writer seems to apply here. I was like, if ever there were like the living embodiment of prolific writer, I think it applies. And so I thought, you know what? I think this is a podcast. I think we can talk about publishing ebooks. How many have you even published? Do you know the number at this point in time?
Okay, so it depends on what that word means. If you go to Amazon.com and look for my name, you'll see like there's 7 things that are listed there. But if you go to adatosystems.com, I have a little what I call the I Love Me page, because it's really just I look at it and my mother looks at it and that's about it. But at the top, there's a section.
Not even your kids or your wife? Like nobody else cares?
No, nobody cares. And by the way, prolific writer is just a polite way of saying long-winded to a fault, won't shut up, loves to hear the sound of his own voice or read his own writing. So there's about 17 things there that are various lengths, anything between, I think the real one that I published, the 4 questions every monitoring engineer gets asked, that one is somewhere north of 80 pages, something like that. And some of them are a little bit shorter. They're 20 pages, 30 pages. So the word ebook itself can mean a lot of things. Actually, when we were at the previous company. So anyway, when we were there, they wouldn't let me use the word ebook because ebook was a glossy, graphic heavy format, and anything with a lot of words had to be either a white paper or whatever. So the corporate definition of ebook is different than the way that I look at it. And just for clarity, when I talk about an ebook, I mean something that is somewhere north of 7,000 to 10,000 words, something usually between 10,000 and more words, and has multiple chapters or sections that tell multiple things with a beginning, middle, and an end. It's not just a single thing. It's not just, how to do this thing, or here's one idea. It's multiple ideas, multiple developing storylines that are all knitted together in some way. And that's what I call an ebook. And like I said, if you go to the I Love Me page on my website, there's about 17 of them there. So,
if
you have really a lot of trouble sleeping, that will help. I guarantee you. It's an insomnia cure for sure.
Well, I think for our purposes, that qualifies you as a subject matter expert. And I was thinking that, writing a book can boost a person's credibility, like both in business or in the tech industry, which is our audiences, women who are entrepreneurs or women who are in the tech industry. And so, again, writing a book can boost their credibility. So I thought this would be a good conversation. So I thought our listeners would be able to glean some insights from just talking about what does it take to get an ebook published. But before we begin, let's talk about what we're not going to cover in this conversation. So, Leon, what are we not going to talk about today and why?
And this concept I actually got from my current company, which I am going to name. I'm at Kentic. And Kentic has what's called a negative roadmap, which I'd never heard of before. And whether you're working in technology or not, I think it's really amazing to spend a little time. A negative roadmap is a list of things that you will never do. Okay. So like this is off limits. We are never going to build this product or do whatever, even though it's potentially likely that people might ask us to, but that is out of bounds.
Okay.
My daughter owns a bakery, owns and runs a bakery, and people say, "Oh, could you make empanadas?" Like, no, that is on my negative roadmap. I will never be making empanadas. Like,
right.
Just not a thing. So this is our negative roadmap for this podcast.
Okay.
We are not going to talk about what should I write about. Like, I am not here as God's gift to authors everywhere to give you the best possible idea of what you should write about. How long should your ebook be? I just mentioned that there's multiple lengths. It's however long you want it to be and call it an ebook, you win. That's fine. Okay. And then finally, how do I make my ebook go viral?
Yes.
If I knew that, I'd be way more popular and rich than I am now, and I'm not. So,
fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
We're really not gonna get into like how to make and I don't mean how to do it successfully, how to do it to the best potential it is. We will talk about that, but how to make it go viral. Like, we're not gonna do that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's dive in and let's just talk about how hard is it to create and publish an ebook?
All right, and I'm going to separate those two things because writing and publishing are two different things. Okay. And writing is the work of the work. It's I heard somebody refer to it as the dog's body work. It's for some people it is the boring drudgery. It is the grinding out. It's the silent, quiet moments of the night. But other people love that moment. Other people live for the time when the coffee is fresh and hot and the ideas are there and they, are even, although you're going to have to edit them, they're just, getting ideas out on paper or onto the screen is the part that they feel most rewarding. On the other hand, so writing is the work. Okay. And publishing is the other work. They're both.
Wait, when do I get to relax?
Yeah, no. No. That's not a thing. Oh. So publishing. So for some people, the writing, whether or not anybody ever reads it, is the part that brings a lot of joy and fulfillment. And for other people, it is knowing that people are consuming the ideas or the words or whatever. That's the part that brings the most amount of joy. So hopefully one of those resonate with you. The publishing, you've written the thing and it's there, and now getting it out into the world is the part that's really exciting and energizing. And so that's the other part. So just be aware that both may resonate with you on different levels and at different times. There are moments when I am much more interested in the publishing piece than I am about the actually writing it piece, and vice versa. So it's okay to feel conflicted or different on every given day or in every different moment about those two things, but they are both important parts of the work.
So on the subject of writing, though, I do want to go back to something you said earlier when you said what you consider to be an ebook. And you were talking about it's multiple things that are telling a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and you're tying those all together. Did I re-summarize that accurately?
That's perfect.
Have you heard the term microbook? So in your description, I imagine each of those things as a chapter, but I've heard people talk about micro ebooks where it's just like one thing. In my mind, it's just one of those chapters that you're talking about. Is that a thing? Is that are those also ebooks?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
back in my day, we used to call them blog posts. And then,
Okay, gotcha.
so, like there's, micro blogging was a thing, which, is Twitter, which is known
Yeah.
as X by exactly one jackwagon of a human being right now. I may have an opinion about it.
I think a lot of people have an opinion about that, but go ahead.
Yeah. But, so the size of the content, if it is a meaningful idea. So I know I interrupt myself a lot.
Well, and technically we said we weren't going to talk about the length, but I just wanted to, because you mentioned it earlier, and I just wanted to get that out of the way, but go ahead.
Right. So one of my absolute heroes of writing is Seth Godin. Seth Godin can convey in 3 sentences just this vast universe of an idea. I dream of being as concise and amazing as Seth Godin is. I will never, as anybody listening to this podcast can tell, I use all the words and I use them all the time. So writing briefly and concisely is something I struggle with a lot. But that being said, if you go to his blog, I mean, those are all complete ideas. And you could publish a book of those, in fact he has, and call it an ebook. You could. So the idea of micro publishing or micro is fine if you're conveying a single idea. I tend, again, long-winded, that's me. So I tend to think of an entire idea, the most amount of words, and then I'll look at how to slice it down into small pieces. So an ebook size thing may end up going to the world as a series of blog posts or white papers, or again, the word of what you call it doesn't really matter.
You know what?
That's okay. And some people have to, people have to write small pieces and realize when they look back, oh, these are all thematically connected. Let me put them together now. Either way is fine. Go ahead.
When you just said that, it struck a thought in my brain. I think I remember reading that Andy Weir originally wrote the book The Martian as a series of like blog posts or like mini posts, and then eventually pulled it all together in a book and self-published, and then eventually it became a best-selling, novel, and then a movie with Matt Damon, et cetera, et cetera. Same for Martha Wells and All Systems Red. I don't know if you've heard of with the Murderbot Diaries. Anyway, so yeah, I think she originally posted. It just, when you said that, I was like, oh wait, I think I heard that. There's a couple of popular books that were originally written that way. So I just want to interrupt to say that.
And there is no length limit. So back in my day, I am a man of a certain age, and I grew up on paperback science fiction novels and Stephen King and things like that. And I remember vividly when 4 Seasons came out, and no one's going to remember, different seasons. No one's going to remember the book Different Seasons, but they will remember the fact that there was Shawshank Redemption, The Body, Apt Pupil, and The Breathing Method. Those were the 4 stories inside that one book.
Oh,
and of course, Shawshank Redemption became Shawshank Redemption. The Body became Stand By Me. Apt Pupil became another movie, and they haven't turned The Breathing Method into a movie yet. But at the beginning, the intro, Stephen King talked about how he didn't know what to do with this because each of those stories was a novella. And he gave the list of like, a novel has to be X number of words, and a short story has to be under this amount of words. And if you're in between, you're in this little South American town called Novela. I'm sorry, sir, you're in Novela. I do not know how to get there. You can't get there. So he took these 4 novellas that he couldn't develop longer. They were good the way they were, and he couldn't shrink them down, and he put them together in this book. My point being is that back in the day, the rules for what would get published and what wouldn't get published were very strict. Now, nobody cares.
Gotcha.
Literally nobody cares. You have 5 paragraphs. You want to call it an ebook. We're going to talk about how to publish it. Go for it. If you have something that is, the size of Moby Dick, fine, publish it. The length of the piece doesn't really matter as much as the coherence in the content.
Okay. Well, I took us down that side road, even though we said we weren't going to talk about length. I interrupted your train of thought. I think you were talking about the work of writing, and that's where that question came from. And I think you were moving on to the work of publishing. I'm not sure because I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. There's not much to talk about the writing because that is, again, the work, and your work process is your work process and how you come up with ideas and when you do it and all that stuff. And again, there's nothing I can tell anybody. I barely know how to do it myself. It's the only advice I could give is that the act of writing begets more writing. Like the thing that you'll hear every single writer, which is like saying every single breather, like we all write emails and texts and things like we are all writers of, we are all transmitters of information. Whether or not we find joy in it is a different story. So, but the only piece of consistent advice I've ever seen is do more of it. So you want to write something and you're not sure that you're doing it well, write more. You'll get good eventually. With that being said, the publishing options. So I'm going to break it down to 3 major categories. You can publish as just a plain text.
Okay.
Like nobody cares. No form. You just imagine no formatting at all. You can publish it.
I'm OCD. I can't imagine that. No. It has to have formatting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's, okay. And that, I mean, like, right. But Emily, when you think about, back in the days of IRC, and I mean, I know I'm really going back, but like BBSs where there was nothing. It was just like a plain TXT file, right?
Yeah.
So, a plain text file where you really don't care about the formatting at all. You want the content transmitted. There's reader friendly, e-reader friendly, or a MOBI, a MOBI file of some kind, or a pub file or whatever. So you're going to put it into that format. So you're writing to that format, or self-publishing, which could be a MOBI format, but it could also be a PDF. It could be whatever. Where I'm going with this is that the format doesn't really matter, except when it matters. I know, contradiction. I contain multitudes. I am a contradiction. So the idea is that as you decide where you're going to publish, you're going to have to both format and reformat. So I would say don't worry about it at the outset. Create the content, make sure that it is clean, clear, concise, edited, and then figure out how you're going to do the formatting into the format. Again, MOBI or PDF doesn't imply style, a heading style and whatever. It simply implies the file type that it is contained in.
Right.
And different, Kindle will require something, Barnes and Noble will require something else. Smashwords will require a third thing. It doesn't matter until it matters to that platform.
Right.
But all those platforms are getting much more broad in the sense that you can hand them almost anything and they will deal with it fairly well, except you may hate it. And you again, to your OCD, you're going to go back and say, I don't like the way that looks. And you're going to go back. The good news is, unlike, again, back in the old days, you sent it to a publisher, they would take 6 months with it, you get it back, you wouldn't even remember what you sent them. Now it's an almost instantaneous process. You upload the file, it grinds it out, it shows you a preview. You're like, no, that sucks. Okay. And then you take it back and you do whatever. Yeah.
So basically don't waste a whole bunch of time fretting about the formatting, because depending on where you put it, it may change anyway. So that's actually good advice for me, like I say, personally, because I will spend ridiculous amounts of time formatting something and then find out that, it didn't even matter because, so that's actually good advice. Okay. Thank you.
Right. I will also say that, like certain basics, you want to know where your titles are. You want to know, where your, chapters break. If you work in a single document, I tend to work in a single document format. It's just, it works for my brain. I don't divide chapters up into separate files, because then I feel like I have this murder board of and my entire desk is a mess. Right. How this goes to there and all that stuff. So I work in a single file, but other people work where they break things down very, very specifically. Again, your work style is your work style, but having basic formatting, knowing that you're going to have, I'm not going to say bolding or underlining, but emphasis, because each platform, some will support italicizing, other platforms, italicizing looks like shit and you don't want to do it. So just knowing I'm going to emphasize this is better. So I tend to work in, I used to work in Evernote. The company got sold to a company I don't trust anymore. So I use Joplin, which is a free tool that works on almost every platform. That is not a commercial. I'm just saying it is a very clean, very bare bones system that lets me focus on getting the words out, but also have like highlights and like I can have markers of Leon, come back to here. You need to edit this more. You need to whatever. And it's got a spell check and all that stuff. So
right.
that's
Gotcha.
so yes, don't get
Okay.
overly hung up in the formatting.
Good to know. Good to know.
And that naturally goes to, well, where am I going to put it? Because if where I put it determines the formatting. So there's not that many choices. That's the good news. The bad news is there's not that many choices.
Yeah.
Amazon is the obvious choice. Amazon Kindle, you can publish on Kindle for free. You can put your content out there for free also. They used to not let you do that. Now that you can list things for $0, and that's fine. There are arguments about how much to price things. We may talk about that a little bit later on. But I'm going to leave it to the side for now. But you can put things up there for people to get for free, and it doesn't cost you anything. Barnes & Noble also out there, although I don't know how many people are really writing specifically for the Nook anymore.
Right.
And then you have the aggregator / third party, Smashwords, Kobo, Rakuten. Those are 3 of them that what they do is you post it on their site and they will repeat post it to the other places, whether it's Apple or iStore, Tunes, whatever, iBooks.
Is it like an RSS feed?
It's not an RSS feed. I mean, it's similar to an RSS feed in the sense that you publish, you make it look good on their platform, and they will do the conversion and make it appear on the other platforms. And they, if you're publishing for money, because people like to eat, then they'll take a slice of you publish on Smashwords and you get this much of the fee when somebody buys it on Smashwords. On the other hand, if somebody buys it off of Amazon, then there's this double layer thing where Amazon takes their cut and Smashword takes their cut, and then you get what's left of it. So there's, the reason to publish directly on Amazon is because then you're not giving 2 people a cut. The reason not to is because Smashword says if you publish directly on Amazon, they won't let you publish there. I am not a lawyer.
Really?
I cannot.
Oh.
Yeah. And the rules do change often. So you need to read them carefully and figure it out. Again, that's where the murder board with the lines and the things. And if I publish on here first, and then I go to there, and then I do this, but those are really the players. The things I just said are almost everything. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, Rakuten, and Kobo. Those are the places to publish text on top of your website. I mean, let's not forget that your personal website is another place that you can publish, and you can charge, and you can have a little shopping cart or whatever, and all good. You can do it that way too. I tend to take the do everything approach. If you look for, again, and the one ebook that I sell, for money, the 4 questions every modern engineer gets asked, that one is for sale on my website, but it's also for sale on Amazon and blah 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 blah. So
right,
you can find it.
Gotcha.
So and just to close to tie the knot, to close the circle, to whatever, that when you're publishing on those platforms, their ingest tool, upload your file here. All of them will take the file and then tell you what's wrong with it. They'll tell you that, not from a content standpoint, but, these formatting codes don't work, or you do not have consistent breaks, or it's, whatever, or this graphic file didn't upload, or whatever it is. So they will tell you what's wrong. And that's when you go back and make your little tweaks about the formatting so that it uploads to the site that you're talking about. And honestly, that is one of the ways that authors decide what platform they want to work with, is the ones that cause the least amount of headaches for them when they're uploading.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. I think that's a lot to process. And I think now's a good time to take just a short break. Sure. And when we come, we're going to think about what you just told us, because that's a lot. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to spend all that cash, that sweet, sweet cash we get from publishing our first ebook. Right?
Sure. Yes.
All right. We're going to take a short break. All right, so we're back. That was a nice break. So, money, cash. How big a boat can I buy after I get this thing published?
Okay, let me spin it around and talk about how much you're going to have to put out up front And
Uh-oh.
then we'll talk about what you have left. Outgoings before income. Is that okay?
You're
Or do we
no
need to talk about that?
fun. No, it's fine. You're no
I can,
fun.
okay.
No, it's fine. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah.
So how much you're going to spend depends on how much effort you're willing to put in on all the different parts. And what I mean by that, I have a friend, Tom LaRock. So I love Linux. I use Linux on all of my computers, all the screens you see behind me and everything. Like I really enjoy it, and I've used it on my desktop because, and part of it is because it's free. I never have to pay for upgrades. And Tom would always tell me Linux is free if your time is worthless. Like that's when it's free. Otherwise, it's not free, and stop lying. And
That's
as much
fair.
as as much as I disagree with that for me personally, it is true that, you know, an ebook costs you nothing if you don't mind investing time on all the parts. So all the parts, who is going to do the editing on the book? And I am telling you right now, again, as a writer, as somebody who writes, you cannot edit your own work. You cannot effectively edit your own. Somebody else has to take a look at it. I will say the most effective way to find every spelling and grammar error in your book is to publish it. They will jump out at you and they will, you know, what was
like
it?
immediately after you hit publish, it's like, oh no, I didn't realize I did that.
You're right, Rachel. Well, we were talking about this like a year ago. We were saying you want to find a bug in your code, push to production.
Yeah, exactly.
That is when
absolutely.
you will find a bug in your code. Yes. So yeah,
Absolutely.
hit publish and you will find every spelling mistake right then and there. And it's too late. It's over.
Yep.
So don't do that. Don't be like that. So edit, you know, you need somebody to edit. And maybe you know somebody who will do it for free, but maybe you don't. Who's going to do the graphics inside the book? Maybe you're doing a how-to book where it's all screenshots, and that's totally fine. Wonderful. But maybe not. Maybe you need illustrations. With AI and free illustration tools, the cost of that has come way down. But again, you have to spend time doing the prompt engineering and making the image the way that you want it. There's also a lot of people who have a lot of questions about using AI-derived content or AI-created content because it is derived from someone else's work, and you don't want someone deriving their stuff off of your work. And. But I won't get into that.
My trademark attorney is doing a whole AMA, Ask Me Anything, about whether or not you can trademark and copyright things from AI because like there's such a legal gray area.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to be very careful there and make sure you dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's before you push that out there. Real quick, total side question.
Sure.
I have never heard the phrase prompt engineering, which is so perfect for working with AI. Did you make that up, or is that a real term?
No. This is a non-job category that a lot of the tech bros are trying to push. Is, you know, dude, you don't have to be a software engineer. You can be a prompt engineer. It's like that's what you're going to do now.
Wow.
So the idea is that you get really, really good at asking AI questions and having it come out with the right answer sooner. You know, first time, second time, third time, you know, whatever.
Yeah, the struggle is real. Yeah.
It's golf. You're basically trying to get your you know, the count of strokes on golf.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing golf. So prompt engineering is a way of talking about being really good at writing a thing to an AI to have it give you the thing that you want in less than the 16 hours it currently takes me to get anything. But whatever.
Right.
It's because most of my prompts include a lot of swearing, but okay.
Okay.
I have a very, very short fuse. But which does take us to the concept of who's looking at your contracts, who's looking at those contracts for the different sites to make sure that you're not giving your rights away, because it really does matter. You know, for eBooks and especially for the self-publishing, they tend not to be abusive, but you don't know. And having a lawyer, at least on speed dial, to say, can you take a quick look at this? You know, are you going to do that and trust yourself for it? Maybe you are. It's fine. Who's going to do the layout? Because there is, even though it's an ebook, who is going to figure out that things need to move from one page to another? You know, maybe that's you and that's fine, but maybe it's not. Who's going to do the cover art? This is where I fall over all the time. Look at any of my ebooks. The internal graphics, maybe I can handle that because I typically write technical things or whatever. I'm not doing real illustrations, but the cover you want the cover to be eye-catching. You want the cover to grab the attention of the person scrolling by it. And that might not be you either. So those things have a cost. What they cost depends on who you know and who you don't
Well, and
know.
where are you
and
finding all of these people?
And right. So I've been really lucky. I've known graphic designers. I've known editors who are willing to do work for me on the side. I have found, just from a little bit of searching, a good lawyer who can, look at things the occasional time I need it. So I've been lucky. But if not, then it's how do you find anybody doing anything? You find a community, whether it's a Slack or a forum or whatever, and say, I'm looking for someone to do X, Y, Z. Maybe you're going to go on Fiverr.
Yeah, I was going to say you can probably get cover art on Fiverr and internal graphics on Fiverr, possibly, or Upwork or something like that.
The question is the iteration then. On Fiverr, true. You're going to get somebody that you can have a good, meaningful conversation who's going to take the time to read the content and generate a cover the first time. So I know a graphic artist and who's local to me. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. And so we had a good conversation about that, the 4 Questions book. And he, looked at it. I gave him a couple of example chapters. We discussed like the ideas, what I wanted it to look like. And he gave me like 4 different designs and I picked one and he then tweaked that one. And it was one thing. And I think it was like $300.
Okay.
That was back in 2016 when I originally put it out. But, that was cost. I know an editor. She was able to look over things in a really efficient way. It still probably ended up costing me $600-700 by the time we were done with it because, I needed a lot of editing and I wanted to make sure that I was paying people appropriately.
Right.
So it just depends. So how much to invest depends on who you know and how much time you want to take and how much burden you want to take on yourself. That being said, let's round numbers. That ebook, the 4 Questions, cost me about $1,000.
Okay.
I do not believe I have made that back yet.
Wait.
Now,
when was it published?
2016.
But
2016. Now I will say that part of the cost was also that I had print copies made. I had about 100 print copies made. I went through, I can't remember the publisher. And so a lot of the cost is that I have these books sitting on my shelf because I wanted to have a physical copy. Amazon at the time didn't have a order on publish on demand option.
Okay.
And so I had to create some physical copies because I wasn't going to be able, I didn't think I was going to have the chance to have physical copies later. It was electronic and whatever I had printed. And when that print bundle ran out, when I stopped physically shipping them out, I would have to order another bundle. In the meanwhile, a couple of places, Smashwords and Amazon and a few other places came up with print on demand. So now if somebody wants a physical copy, they will print it. You get less money off of it, but they do the printing. You can have a different price for the physical copy than the ebook copy and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't have gone that route. But no, and let's be really honest. The book is the 4 questions every monitoring engineer gets asked. It is a overlap of monitoring and observability and Passover. This is a really niche topic. There's, the Venn diagram of people who really want those things is maybe like 4 people in the world, and I can name all 4 of them. So, I didn't expect this to sell well. This was a book that I had rolling around my head for a few years, and I needed to get it out on paper or else it was going to clog up. It was going to be like mental constipation. I was going to clog up everything else that I needed to get out. So I did it knowing that it probably wouldn't be a, New York Times bestseller.
But let's be real though, like we talked about at the top, there's more to be made from publishing a book than just money, and it's credibility and trust, and I would imagine that expertise that you demonstrated in that book and in other books is why you're constantly going to conferences and you're getting your speaking gigs because you're trusted.
Yes.
Like you're trusted to that, these things. So I think that, there's trust capital and there's other things that can be gained from publishing, even if it's not money.
Absolutely. I got promoted at the company I was at because that was one of the things that I did, even though the company didn't put their name on it or any of that stuff. Like, even though they had no name recognition, the fact that I did it and was able to do it. And of course I was writing eBooks for them also, but it contributed to the, oh yeah, we really need to promote him to, manager to, I never should manage any human, and I actually don't, but I got a promotion to the next level.
Gotcha.
And yeah,
Gotcha.
it does, being able to go to Amazon and find Leon Adato does not hurt when people are saying, should we have this person speak and all that stuff. So yes, that capital is absolutely worth it. I will also say that it depends on the topic. And that's, so there's two sides of the how much money will I make. On the one hand, what I'm getting at is expect zero, and then if you make anything off of it, you'll be delighted because it's greater than zero. So set your expectations very, very low. Fine. That's for a certain kind of content. I think that on the other end, unless your name is Chuck Tingle, and I will let everyone just look that up and understand what that person is doing.
Is it safe to Google him at work? No, just kidding.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Probably
because I have no idea who that person is. Okay.
Yeah. So it's that is fair. So if you're writing in a specific niche audience that has a deep desire for that kind of content and very few outlets for it, without referencing real porn. The romance novel so romance novels we think of as this one block, but there is murder romance novels, and there is a subcategory of murder romance. And then there's a subcategory of Paleolithic murder romance novels. And, going in a completely different, my wife is hooked on Amish romance novels. So like, the what? But there's a few authors, and they tend to write a lot. And if that is a category of topic that resonates with you and you feel comfortable with, you very well may find financial success, real money success, because there's not a lot of people writing to that.
Gotcha.
It just depends. For what I do in tech, I have the set low expectations style. Other people will approach it and say, no, I want to satisfy a need in the marketplace. And so that's what they do.
Okay. No, that makes sense. This is all great. I think we should wrap up the conversation with just some final thoughts about any other essential points that you think that the listeners need to know about writing and publishing ebooks.
Sure. Okay. So the first thing is advertising, which goes back into that. If your time is free, it's only free if your time is worthless. It's more than just posting on social media. In fact, if that is your entire promotion and advertising strategy, you are going to fail. It is not. You are going to have to really spend time finding ways to promote your work, or don't care. Like, again, I publish my stuff. I put it out there. It's there. I actually don't care if anybody downloads or reads it. That's not why I wrote it. I wrote it because the words were in my soul and I needed to get them out on paper, and now they are. But if you want people to, and I reference people to them when it's relevant, but otherwise it's fine. If you want to promote, you're going to have to promote. You're going to have to do lots of different things to get people to notice you. I will say that vanity publishing, paying another firm to publish your book is probably the wrong way to go, especially in this day and age of self-publishing and ebooks and things like that. But you do need to find a way to let people know that your book exists and what it talks about, and that they should love it and pay for it. I will also say that an audio version is something. So back in the day, there's this dude, Earl Scheib. He became a national icon. My name is Earl Scheib. Come to Earl Scheib's. We'll paint any car, $29.95. That was it. And he slurred his words. Like, that was actually very clear for an Earl Scheib impression. But it was, or there's another one here in Cleveland, Sedlak's Interiors. And I am not joking. This, come to Sedlak's Interiors. We have the best sofas and the best things. Like, what are you doing? Well, it turns out that in the 70s, business owners found out that if they did the commercial themselves, they didn't have to pay a talent fee, and it was a lot cheaper. And so they all got on the radio or the TV, and it was a bad idea. Unless you are a professional and, you can make a commercial or in an audiobook that people can listen to. If you sound like the nanny, don't. Or I can't remember the character's name from Singing in the Rain. What's wrong with the way I talk? Like, no, don't do that. So, if you're going to do an audiobook.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt for a second. So the nanny is Fran Drescher. You know that she has a book. It's called Cancer Schmancer, and she narrates her own audio.
Well, okay, but
and that's her real voice. So just so that you know, I've not listened to. I think I listened to a sample, but it's just funny you say that because I'm like, I know that she narrates her own audio.
Yeah, but anyway, if you sound like Fran Drescher and you're not Fran Drescher, that's a good point. That's the thing. It's if you are Fran Drescher, it's fine to sound like Fran Drescher. It's okay. Right, exactly. But the point
especially when you're telling your own story.
Yeah, and don't. I would say don't have a computer read your read your book. That's going to be really hard to listen to. But beyond that, you get into legal issues. There's been a big kerfluffle last week or the week before. Spotify changed their terms of use, and it's unclear whether the new terms of use allow Spotify to completely steal your work and create sequels on their own and use your characters and use your settings. And it's really there's a big argument. A few lawyers have weighed in and said this is the same as every single thing you sign. It's really not, blah blah blah. But there's a lot of other people like no, they changed it a month ago and this is bad, and the Writers Guild has gotten involved. I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure, but the point is that there are legal considerations that you need to understand before putting your work out there, unless it's not important. Again, if somebody wrote a sequel to The Four Questions, I don't know that I would be that messed up about it. I would actually want to dude, let's talk. We can be friends, I would really be excited if somebody took that work and extended it further. But that's just me. I'm kind of weird. So, but you need to be aware of that. So those are three things. Again, advertising, audio version. If you've written a book, somebody's going to want you to do an audio version, and make sure you understand the legal implications of all the things you're putting out. You know what rights that you're retaining and what rights you're giving away, and what avenues that opens and closes to you along the way. Those are the things that I would put out there to consider as some final thoughts.
Wow. You are definitely an expert in this area, I have to say. Again, I know you don't consider yourself, for me, I've never written anything, or I've never written an ebook. So for me, and for probably a good swath of my listeners, you are the subject matter expert on this. So we want to thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge. Do you have anything that you want to promote? Do you want to promote? How can we find the Four Questions every network engineer?
Right. So you can find it, obviously.
Any upcoming appearances, anything like that? Yeah.
So you can find, if you look for Leon Adato, all one word, I'm on almost every social media platform. AdatoSystems.com is my website. And there's, like I said, there's the tab is called My Work Out There, but that lists out all the blogs and everything. Feel free to, click and download whatever you want. If you have questions, you can find me on social media and ask. I love talking and I love sharing my ideas. And let's see, the next time I'm speaking is, I believe it's DevOps Days, Seattle, which is in May. That's the next time I'll be speaking. But I do a lot of videos. Okay. And, goofy things all around. So just come find me, because I love meeting people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leon. This brings us to the end of our episode. Again, I want to thank you for lending us your wisdom on the topic of ebooks. And I'm just going to put this out there. You can say no. We can cut this if you want. But would you be interested in writing a blog post on this topic for the website?
It's like you don't even know me. Of course I want to write a blog post.
Hey, I have to formally ask. I can't assume. I don't want to take advantage of you.
Fine. Yes.
Can I twist your arm? Okay, awesome. Yes. So for our listeners, depending on, I'm not even sure when this episode's going to be published, but if the blog post exists at that point in time, then the link will be in the show notes. Otherwise, it'll be in a newsletter later. So speaking of newsletters, if you'd like to subscribe, visit subscribe.imperfectgenius.com to subscribe to our newsletter. And again, you will receive a copy of our show notes or just information about upcoming things. So when Leon does publish the article, then we'll send out a newsletter that'll have a link to that. So again, to our listeners, thank you so much for listening and supporting us. Your loyalty and your listening means the world to us. Keep listening and stay awesome. If you want to be a part of the podcast in your own special way, you can leave us a voicemail with your questions at 404-425-9862, and you may hear an answer to your questions on a future episode. And you can follow us on social media at Ask Imperfect Genius. I was about to say .com. It's just at Ask Imperfect Genius. Our website is imperfectgenius.com. And until next time, this is Rachel Foster. I'm reminding you that while your journey may not be flawless, it can be phenomenal.